Shehuri. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wahdah wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We have been going through Surah-Hujuraat, and Alhamdulillah, we have done about 10 ayat of Surah Al-Hujuraat. So the background is such that in the beginning of this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained the rights of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how to deal with him, what is his status, and how should people be observing the etiquettes and behavior towards him. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the mutual relationship between men, Muslim men and women, how they should be looking after each other like brethren. They are from the same family, they're like a whole community together. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now moving on to the individual behavior, how individuals should be behaving towards another individual as opposed to collectively. So specifics, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would explain each of those salient diseases that could cause a lot of risk and problem in the society, in the family. And the first one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now mentioned this one. So, ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la yaskhar qawmun min qawmin asa an yakunu khayran minhum. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la yaskhar qawmun min qawmin asa an yakunu khayran minhum. ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون. صدق الله العظيم. So three main points Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, and we will discover one today. So Allah says, O you who believe, let not a people ridicule and mock another people, lest they may be better than him. And likewise, the women shouldn't mock the women folks. Perhaps they may be better than them. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about two other diseases. That will be covered inshallah next time. So here, the idea of mocking people. Mocking people is really a major sin. You can't mock others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put that at the top of the ailments, the diseases that would cause trouble to the communities. And what is meant by mocking is looking down upon others in such a way that you belittle them, you feel bad about them, and you just say things that might hurt them. And it is haram, by the way. So, and it does not necessarily relate it to your words, rather the action. Sometimes mocking and saying things, to say things in such a way that people could, through your gesture, understand that you're mocking someone. If someone entered and then you've said something to your friend or nudged him, looked at him in a certain way, all of that is mocking, and people start laughing about that. Nothing of that is permissible. None of that is allowed in Islam. What was the background to this particular part of Surah-Hujuraat? As you know, the revelation of Quran has been in the context many a time. But that context, it is not normally the only reason why Allah revealed it, because Quran is forever. So as they say, Al-ibratu li'umum al-lafz la li khusus al-sabab. The revelation, or the reason behind the revelation, is only a means to make it easy for people to understand, but it is not only limited to that context. Rather, it is forever. Otherwise, most of the Quran would be redundant. You would say, oh, it's for them only. No, it's not. It's for everyone. So incidents, and now many a time the incidents which are sometimes the reason for the revelation are more than one. And sometimes it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at the society and some diseases were prevailing without people knowing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave some instruction to make it easy for people to then change their affair. And remember, with regards to Sahaba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chosen them for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are really there to support Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's message, so that everything is being practiced, everything has been implemented, and all the problems that they had is being sorted out by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they were kept so pious as they were all, if Allah did not let them make certain mistakes, how would we know how to rectify that? It is only when the situation arises that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then get Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to respond to that. So that is the way the Sahaba's highest status remains. It should still be in your mind. So how could Sahaba do that? Yes, Allah made it such so that we can benefit from him. Otherwise, you would say this is only a theoretical idea. In a society, don't mock. But Sahaba never mocked because they were so pious and special. So which means that we can mock anyway. Sahaba were so pious that they never committed theft and no one got their hands chopped off. So we shouldn't be doing it because we're only weak creation. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that one of the Sahaba would do that. All of the actions, all of the hudud, all of the punishments, everything, Allah made them all commit certain thing, obviously not meaning to do it, accidentally with a slip, and that they were then being cleansed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave them because the way they repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many stories about it. You know about the Sahabi, Ma'iz Aslami, radiallahu anh. He got involved in adultery, and then there was no witnesses to it, and yet he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asking for forgiveness. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam forgave him, but he was, Ya Rasulullah, as you know, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the punishment is stoning to death. I want to be stoned to death. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, go, you go. You haven't got 4 witnesses, off you go. Allah will forgive you. He kept coming until he persuaded Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to have that, and he got that punishment. He was stoned to death. Likewise, a lady called Ghamidiyya from the tribe of Ghamidiyya tribe, a lady from that tribe, she came and she said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, go. You haven't got 4 witnesses. It's only this punishment has been there from Old Testament to New Testament to Quran from early on. And obviously, in the modern term, it is very, very strict and very, very harsh. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants things to be stopped rather than as a deterrent as well. You do one time and none of the community member would ever dare do that. Rather than keep going the same way and the people say, oh, I am okay, and I would keep doing it. Anyway, for married person, when they had other ways to satisfy their need. For unmarried, it's a flogging. That's the punishment from Sharia. But anyway, so this lady, she came, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go. And when she insisted, he said, okay, go and come back when you have your baby. Thinking that after baby's birth, she would forget about this about 9 months' time. She came back. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh, it's a very small baby, go and feed your baby for 2 years. So she started breastfeeding the baby for 2 years. Came back afterward, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look at my baby, the baby can eat now. The baby had a piece of bread. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you have left me with no choice. What do I do? And she was like, no, please. And then she was then stoned. And someone then said, she's been cursed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't say it. The way she has repented is such that 70 people who are the sinners, it will suffice them. Or in another narration, all of the people in the society will be able to have their tawbah accepted, because her tawbah is better than all of them. So her tawbah is way more than everyone who has repented. So such is the status of this lady who laid her life but didn't want to disobey Allah, accidentally happened, but she wanted to get purified. If that didn't happen, people would say, you know what, since it was never practiced, how can we practice? They were pious people, we are weak people, don't act upon it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the best of the companions, the best of the nation for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's companionship, from his family, from his friends, from his nation, all of them at the time. And so they all did certain things. Allah selected them for that. And that is their sacrifice for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There were certain things that were okay with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam going through. And anything which was not appropriate for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to go through, it was then moved on to the Sahaba. So for example, a prophet can become sick, unwell. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became unwell and sick. A prophet can get the effect of magic to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it doesn't go against the prophethood. Likewise, a prophet can at times feel angry, upset, happy. Sahaba did the same, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had that. Marrying your adopted son's wife after he has divorced, it was considered before Islam not okay. But in Islam, it is perfectly fine. Your adopted son is not your blood son. He's not your son, like son. He's like, metaphorically your son. So if he doesn't stay with that wife and he divorced, and then after the iddah, the waiting period, some men can marry them, that's fine. It was considered a taboo during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah made it such that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was instructed to, after that divorce, marry this lady, Zainab bint Jahash alayhi salam. So she became mother of the believers. So she was the Ummul Mu'mineen. Why that is? Because it was okay for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do it, so that this custom gets completely sorted out, and it did. Anyone else doing it wouldn't have been okay. People say, yeah, but only he did it. So it was so much of an importance that people should realize that that is not any way okay thing in Islam. So do you understand the concept? The concept is many things would happen. Everything must be practical and practiced during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by and large, with few exceptions. So those are the things that are practiced by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was appropriate for his prophethood. But a prophet cannot lie. A prophet cannot commit any sin. So he was not made to do any of that, and he wouldn't. But the Sahaba could as human beings, and then they were forgiven later on. Is that clear? So keep that in mind. So whenever we mention anything about Sahabi, that they've managed or they've done something which was not appropriate, remember that was before they were given this sanctity by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not infallible. They were not ma'soom, but they were mahfood. Means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved their action by saying that Allah is happy with them, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, and they are pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with them. Means even if they've made all the mistakes, it was not done. They did not do it. وَلَمْ يُسِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. They did not commit a sin with a crazy planning. They did not plot. They were not cunning in that. It happened. They slipped. They did it. And they realized and they repented. They repented. Some laid their life to get repentance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some went out of their way to donate everything that they had for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So such was their status. So anything that you hear and find out, I wouldn't have done that. How could a Sahabi do that? Because they wanted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted through them to prove that it could happen, but then how to repent to that, how to get better after that, how to not ever do that again. So we creation can make mistakes, but those mistakes, if we're insistent on that, and that is something Allah doesn't like. If we start making excuses with those, oh no, because I did it, but none of that. That's not acceptable. That's the way of shaitan. When he did not obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what was his argument? Ana khayrum min, I am better than you. So that's a devilish and shaitanic way. Adamic way, Adam alayhi salam's way is, Rabbana zalamna anfusana. Ya Allah, I made a mistake. Ya Allah, we were wrong. It's us being wrong. So confession and true sense of repentance, regret in the heart. That's the way of Sahaba. That's the way of pious people. Okay. When we say Sahaba, it includes all the people around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from his wives to his children to his friends to his family to everyone in and around him. Okay, all 124,000 of them. Inshallah ta'ala. So keep that in mind. So what was the reason behind this particular ayah of Quran? There's a particular companion called Thabit ibn Qais ibn Shammas. So this particular Sahabi, one of the mightiest of the Sahaba, mashallah, very, he was a khatib of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very, but he had quite a strong voice. In the beginning of this particular surah, we went through that, the revelation reasons. One of those was this particular Sahabi had loud voice, and he started going like, not attending the circles anymore because he was naturally loud with his voice. So he said, Allah says, don't raise your voices. But he would just keep himself. The Sahaba went and said, oh, my friend, why are you not coming to the circles anymore? He said, my voice is high. If I ask anything, I fear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would curse me for this, because my sound, my voice is going to be higher than Rasulullah. I'm louder than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah says, don't raise your voice in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I should rather not go there. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comforted it. Said, rather you are from the. He said that I feel that I'm from the people of hellfire. Rather you are people of Jannah, man. Come on. So he comforted him and brought him back. The Sahaba brought him back, and he was with Rasulullah. So another thing that happened, but then later on he became a little bit hard of hearing. So in the majlis, he was supposed to come and sit at the front. So normally he would get that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made him sit in front so that he could hear better. One day he couldn't make it on time. He was a little bit delayed for wudu or for whatever needs that he had. And when he came, majlis was full. The norm is that you sit at the back. Wherever you are, you just sit there. So since he had this special reason to come in front, he started walking in between people and came in front. Except that between him and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was only one individual. He kept saying space, 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 and people were giving him space. And this particular relatively poor Sahaba, one of the poor Sahaba, he was sitting there, and when he asked him to move as well, he said, "You're going to space, sit there." It means that you have a space, sit down. It means that he didn't move. But the majlis continued. When he's finished, he asked this man by nudging him a bit and said, "Who are you?" Because his face wasn't directing towards him. He mentioned his name. So that he just said, "Oh, the son of so-and-so," in a mocking way. Means his mother was a slave. He mocked him by saying that you are actually a son of a slave lady, and you are trying to be a bit like, smart. You didn't listen to me asking for this space. I mean, he was from high level. He was one of the greatest of the Sahaba. He was the khatib, as I say, he was the orator of Rasulullah. So he was the spokesperson. So he had a bit of a merit there. So he was a bit of higher in post and position. And this one was slave and poor. And so he mocked him with his name. So Allah revealed this. Don't do that. Obviously, it's not supposed to be. So that Sahabi, the poor one, he felt ashamed because his mother's name has been named in front of everyone. It's like there are a few people around there, not everyone, but few people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it said, don't do that. Another revelation, another reason for this revelation, according to some, by the way, these are all reports, but some of them have some weaknesses. They're not absolute. There's a potential for those to be the case. Some Sahaba say it was for that reason. Some say it was for that reason. I mean, they were all giving you some of the incidences that took place during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where people did use their tongue to mock someone. That's the natural way people just do it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to then intervene to make sure that people understand and realize and better themselves. Anyway, so Sayyidina Salama, she was a little bit short. Salama was short in height. Sayyida Aisha and Sayyida Hafsa radiallahu anha, once they just say, "Oh, Salama, the short one." That's how they described it in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't like it. He said, don't say that. In fact, according to some narration, he said, the word that you have uttered has such a bitterness that if you were to put it in Furat or in one of the rivers, it would just make it all bitter. The water become poisonous. So that's the level of poison. Even to say someone short like this, when someone is really short, with a mocking way, in a mocking way, that is not allowed. That is impermissible. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it very clear. So some say that is the background as well. Another one, Abdullah ibn Abbas, as he mentioned, that Safiya bint Huyay bin Akhtab, one of the mothers of the believer, one of the Ummul Mu'mineen, one of the Ummatul Mu'mineen. So she was from a Jewish tribe, you remember. So she came to Islam willingly and became Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife voluntarily. She was freed, but she accepted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as husband. And she accepted Islam on her own. Now, even after accepting Islam once, Hafsa radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, oh, you were Jewish, weren't you? You're Jewish family. You're from the Jewish family. So just in a way, in a mocking way, to her previous religion. So she started crying. And she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when she met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked her, she said, oh, she said this to me. Why didn't she respond by saying, rather, you are a daughter of a prophet. Your uncle is a prophet, means you're a niece of a prophet, and you are a wife of a prophet. You have got very high lineage, means Jewish people. So she was from the lineage of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and the brother Harun alayhi salam. So your forefather Musa is a prophet. Your uncle Harun is a prophet up there. And now you are my wife, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife. So you are wives. You are one of the wives of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So where is there? What is there to be? No one has that much of status. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comforted her and said, don't do that. So and then he said to Hafsa, fear Allah. Don't do that. Don't say it subsequently. Now, we are not supposed to mock anyone. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this particular hadith said, the Muslim is the brother to another Muslim. He does not wrong him. He does not let him down. He does not look down upon him. Taqwa is here. He said, Taqwa, at-taqwa ha-huna. Taqwa is here. He pointed to his chest 3 times, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it said, it is sufficient evil for a man to look down upon his Muslim brother or Muslim sister. Every Muslim is sacred to another Muslim. His blood, his property, his honor. You cannot appropriate or misappropriate his wealth, his life, his honor. You can't mock anyone. It's not allowed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it very clear. The hadith in Sahih Muslim. So the Quran generally says qawm, and in this particular ayat it uses qawm. Qawm means people, and that is including men and women together most of the time in Quran. But this particular ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used this qawm to mean men. How do we know? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then, in contradiction to this, just juxtaposing this with women, saying that none of the men should mock another man, and none of the women should mock another woman. So word qawm is used to mean men here, and that is Arabic usage as well. That's correct use of obviously is how it is, but generally it includes both. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't suffice to use both together. Rather, he used separately for many reasons. One being, it may be that when women are together and they've got free time, it is easier for them to get involved in this sort of discussion. Unlike the men, when they are more into the field, working day in, day out, like from 9 to. So the time that they get free to talk about things and about others is less, and they have got more access to the companionship of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or of the Imam, or of the circles and talks and this. So in a way, they are a little bit more covered with their time, which is free to their disposal, that you could use and waste. Although that is no more true. Many men has working from home and on the phone, and although they're more like they're perhaps worse in many situations, even about their ridiculing. And it has become a profession now to mock, and people take up that as profession, as you know. Remember, haram, and to do that as a profession, your wealth is haram. Make sure that you don't be like that. We will clarify that in a minute in detail. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used men specifically and women separately, so that it becomes much more important. Also, the idea that in Islam it is inconceivable for a man to mock a woman and a woman to mock a man, because they do not intermix, they do not sit together, chit chat. It happens a lot in the modern time. You're sitting with your cousins, you're sitting with your colleague in the school, in the even religious gathering. People are sitting together and mocking each other, talking to each other, chit chat, gossips on phone and media. My goodness, there's no boundary to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subtly hinted to the point that it is not appropriate for women to mock each other when they're together, because it is impossible for men to mock women and women to mock men, because they're not going to be sitting in the same gathering. They'll always be separated for the free time. Because you don't do that when you're praying. You don't do that when you're doing something positive. You would do that only when you are in a relaxed environment. Yeah. Now, sometimes mocking could become an act of kufr, disbelief, could take you outside of the fold of Islam. When you mock the religious teaching, when you're in this habit of mocking, slowly and slowly, you become much more audacious. You become bit more confident, and people start praising you for that nice way of mocking, which you feel happy about. And slowly, you come to the level where you start mocking the religious practices initially, then religious people, then even the book, holy book, then even the prophets, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you would find people mocking the stand-up comedians. They do that a lot. You go and Google it, you will find they mock Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. They mock Sayyidina Maryam alayhi salam in the name of whatever religion they believe in, or none of the religion. Christianity, even the Christians mocking their own prophets. It's quite common. They don't respect. And you'll find some Muslims doing the same now. Why? Because they become more confident. You let them do a little bit, they become so arrogant. And then, obviously, if you did it, you have left the fold of Islam. You can't mock Islam and Islamic teaching. Mocking even beard, for example. Or you look like goat with that beard. Now the builder. It's quite common for people to say. Don't cover your face, you look crazy, abnormal. Oh, why have you got your trousers so high up above the ankle? You look abnormal. Now the builder. In a mocking way. Maybe someone hasn't done it properly, one higher than the other, it looks even odder. That's a different matter. But your idea is to improve it, is a different thing. But if you mocked anything, any of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that would take you, if you rejected it or mocked it. But if this was something which was not established, rather you mocked the person who practiced it in a wrong way. And you think that he doesn't understand. So I'm not mocking the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm rather mocking, why are you doing it? This is not how it should be. You misunderstood it. That's a different thing. But to mock knowingly the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, teaching of Islam, of Quran, it's not allowed at all. Likewise, if you're practicing and you are on the flip side, mocking someone who's not practicing, look at him. He hasn't got his beard. Look at him. He doesn't even cover, his nakedness properly. He doesn't even know how to pray. Now you're being a bit more arrogant with your religious practice, or with your knowledge, and questioning someone else's integrity, their action. Even if they're really wrong, you are not supposed to mock anyone. Don't look down upon anyone. You only mock because you're arrogant. No one mocks anyone who they think is better than them. At that time, in that moment, at the time when you're mocking someone, in that particular instance, if you're mocking, say, someone's clothing, in that clothing, the color combination, for example, I mock him for his very dark, bright color thobe, which doesn't suit his white beard, or whatever, something that doesn't match, and you say, oh my goodness, what sort of dressing he has done. So I definitely feel that I'm better than him in this regard, isn't it? If I feel that I'm worse than him or same, why would I mock him? You only mock with this inner disease, the disease of the heart of arrogance. The people only mock someone else because they find or they feel that they're better than the other in this particular regard. That is the main reason why it is haram. Second is when you do that, it hurts the feeling. The person would never like it. Even if you make it such that in the pressure of the society, you have to laugh. This is where we have gone down to. We have gone so low down. If I mock you and you feel upset about it, people say, come on, man, it was only a joke, come on. You just make sure that he doesn't mock. He's not even allowed to be, upset for being mocked. That's worse of the sins, even worse. So for once you have done a heinous crime and you're not letting anyone behave or respond to that in a normal way. In the name of, oh, no, it's okay. Come on. This friend circle is only like in a matter of fun, just a little chit chat. To the point that that person starts feeling completely sidelined. You feel even reduced, completely miniature, thinking that, oh, they mocked me and I'm feeling bad about it, means that I'm even, worse than who I was initially, they thought. So through that, you're causing him to be completely low in morality, low in self-esteem. You've killed him. What it would do, the person would not ever have the, confidence to talk to the people in public. Many a time, these sort of people, when they get that in their family, in their household, you always find one or two people in the family, extended family. Someone has been an object of ridicule. And what they do, they just become so quiet. And slowly, they slip into this depression. Sometimes become completely antisocial. Antisocial in the sense they can't go out. They become introverts because they feel like, perhaps I shouldn't. And that mocking could be according to their faces, according to their style, according to the way they talk, according to the way they don't understand any of the jokes that you made. A nice joke, everyone is laughing, he's not laughing. So, he's like tube light, it would take him time to understand. He would laugh tomorrow. That's a mock. And that person always feels, what? I'm not good enough. So then he starts laughing fakely. He didn't understand, but he laughed because everyone was laughing. And he's been told off for that. And then he said, oh, why are you laughing? He didn't get it, I know, you don't. So go on. What did it mean? And he said, so then you start laughing against him even more. So what you have done, you have literally killed that person's all the attributes that he could have. Now, this is how you marginalize people, how you stigmatize people, and they become sidetracked to the point that they feel low, and then individuals then become useless in the society. Even if they get married, they're not going to be very good husband or father. So for you, it was just a joke, but it actually caused problem in the society. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not let that happen, and He would give you clear advice about it. Whether you do it after knowing it's your problem, you're free to do that. But generally, you shouldn't be. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given stern warning for mocking deen. In this particular ayat, Allah says, if you ask them, the munafiqun, the hypocrites, about this, they would say, oh, we were only talking idly and joking. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to them, was it at Allah and His ayat and His messenger that you were mocking? Make no excuse. You disbelieved after you have believed. Means you have left the fold of Islam because you ridiculed the teaching of Islam or Allah or Messenger of Allah. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi say, making fun of Allah, His signs and His Messenger is kufr, is disbelief. And one who does that disbelief thereby after he had believed. So stay away from such activity. Don't mock, don't ridicule. There are many jokes that are prevalent in the society, where they joke in Muslims. They would joke about Jannah and Jahannam. They would joke about, oh, they're not going to go to hellfire because they like it. Or they go to Jannah because they'd be fun about Jannah and Jahannam, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not allowed at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned about الَّذِينَ يَلْمِزُونَ الْمُطَّوِّعِينَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فِي الصَّدَقَاتِ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ إِلَّا جُهْدَهُمْ فَيَسْخَرُونَ مِنْهُمْ سَخِرَ اللَّهُ مِنْهُمْ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. That these are the hypocrites again. What they would do when the rich people would come, the Sahaba, and they would give a lot of money, like Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Uthman ibn Affan, Abu Bakr, Umar, the pious and the richest of the Sahaba. When they give big amount of money in the path of Allah, they say, see, then they would taunt them among themselves, sometime in front of them, saying that they're showing off. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for it, and when it's poor people who come up with little bit, the likes of Sayyidina Salman Farsi, the likes of Sayyidina Salim Mawla Hudayfa, Sayyidina Ali, they were poor people and they had little. So whatever little they would just present. So then they mocked them, saying, yes, is this Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to do jihad with? Would that be enough for anything? What would it suffice to? So they would just then ridicule them. So because they have got disease of the heart, is the arrogance. They would always find ways to censure others. That's a big disease of the heart. So hypocritical. And Allah said there will be severe punishment. And finally, Nuh alayhi salam, when he was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ordered him to وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ, that you build an ark. So when he did that, وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ مَلَأٌ مِّن قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْ قال إن تسخروا منا فإنا نسخر منكم كما تسخرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing their behavior. So you are mocking us about, so they used to mock, saying, oh no, alayhi salam, oh, you're building an ark in this desert, so perhaps you're going to put it all the way to another side, with your people. You only got few anyway. This big ark, while you're building it, where's the water? How would you take it to the river? This is how they would mock them. So he would only respond, say, as you are mocking us, you'll be mocked on the day. There will come a time when we'll be mocking you. And that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, on the day of judgment will mock them. The door of the paradise, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained, will be open before one of those who used to ridicule other prophets and other Sahaba and other pious people, Muslims. And they will be said, come, this is Jannah. And they will just start rushing to Jannah. As he's about to enter, it will just be closed in front of him several times till he become completely despondent on the fact that it's going to ever be open. He will have to go to hellfire. He'll be ridiculed. So you ridicule people, come on, and then you'll be mocked like this on the day of judgment. So don't ever do that. Don't ever ridicule anyone. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then made it clear why that is. He said, "Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum, wa la yanzuru ila amwalikum, wa la ila ajsadikum," according to some narration. "Walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa a'malikum." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at your wealth, does not look at your face, does not look at your body, rather your action and your hearts. And the taqwa is here. So everything. So can you check what is in his heart? Can we check what is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. So since that is the case, you would never look down upon anyone, no matter what they're doing. It's not your responsibility anyway. Hadith in Sahih Muslim. So we get this principle from there. The usul, the qaida kulliya, right? In any matter, it is not proper to pass a categorical judgment on the basis of overt evidence, what you see externally. As a person's overt action, whatever they're doing might seem bad, but who knows what is behind it? Maybe they have excuse for it. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, due to the sincerity and purity, it may be elevated. And vice versa. You may see someone doing very good action. You may see yourself doing very good action. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no weight, no value for it. Why? Because of your arrogance, because of your show off in the action, without you realizing. That is why on the day of judgment, there will be people, three people who come first. One of them will be alim, the scholar, He would say, Ya Allah, I laid my life just giving da'wah, teaching, lectures, talk, one after the other, all the circles and sessions we're doing. It was only Allah for you did it so that people say you are a good scholar, people say you're a very good orator, people say you're a very good way of teaching and explaining. And you got that by people. Nothing for you. Go to hellfire, your face first. Dragged on the face. Another person, Ya Allah, I spent all my wealth in your path. No, you did it, we know, but not for me. Not for my sake. You did it, so people say you are very, very generous. And people said it. So you got what you wanted. Off you go to hellfire on your face first. And the third person would be a martyr. Ya Allah, I laid. No, you did it only so people say, good. He was very, very brave. And you got what you wanted. You got your certificates by people. Not for me. So apparently a very good deed of laying your life, teaching, deen, learning and imparting knowledge. And that is why none of the actions should make us, arrogant about ourselves. Because you don't know what of that action has been accepted. Have you been given any certification from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No one has. So never ever do that. Never ever feel big about your action. Rather find faults in yourself all the time. Not saying that completely become set and despondent. No. Thank Allah that Allah allowed me to do this, but then have this idea, Ya Allah, I don't know whether it's accepted or not. So please accept it and give me more courage to do even better. Ya Allah, make me improve my situation all the time. And the way to improve that, or to get to that, is always be with the sheikh, with the teacher, with the mentor. Because the job of the mentor is to keep showing you, because you find him better than you anyway. So what will happen? You look at someone who is better than you, and you always feel, I haven't done enough. And that will calm you down. That will never make you feel big about yourself. It's more needed these days than before, because in the name of confidence, we all become more arrogant. We're taught to become arrogant in the society. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say that I do not mock people, even if I'm offered a big sum of money for that. Not for any reason. What was the Sahaba's attitude when they found out they shouldn't be mocking afterwards? Look at how they then behaved. Sayyidina Amr ibn Shurahbil, or Amr ibn Shurahbil, he would not laugh at a person when he sees him drink milk directly from the udders of the goat, lest he should become one like him. So that's a funny thing to do. But he wouldn't even, a Bedouin doing it in those days, he said, I don't laugh at them because maybe I would become like that. They were so careful about. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala said, I would not like to scoff at a dog lest I be metamorphosed into a dog. He would not even mock a dog, thinking that, what if Allah made me like it? That's the level. And these are the people who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Allah loved them. They are وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ. Allah praised them in Quran. So the treatment you find in the life of Sahaba, how they then nurtured this among their team, among their people, among their students. So Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala narrated once, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam obviously taught them as well. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Abdullah ibn Mas'ud to go and get me a good miswak, the toothstick, so I can do brush. So he just climbed a peak, the what we call the, it's not yellow tree, it's a the what you call the sewak tree, yeah, sewak tree. So he went and climbed up. He got that miswak. As he was climbing, when he was up in the middle of the tree, air caused his legs to be, thighs to be, no, not thighs, the what you call, calves, shins or calves to be seen, and were very, very thin. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud had a very extremely thin legs, very thin calves, to the point that you feel like, how could he be standing on those? It's so thin. The Sahaba started laughing at that. Some of the Sahaba were present there because they could see him up, and then the shins and the calves were seen, literally free from any flesh, were just thin. And he was short-heighted as well. So they started smiling and laughing at that. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what are you laughing about? They said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how thin, how weak the legs are. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a very beautiful comment about him, saying, "Walladhi nafsi biyadi," by the one in whose hand my life is. Lahuma athqalu fil mizani min Uhud. They are heavier in the scales on the day of judgment than the Uhud mountain. You think it's weak? It's not weak at all. You could see outward, and Allah knows what is inward. Allah given me this information about him and his two legs, thin ones, to be heavier than Mount Uhud in the scales because of his good deed, because of his knowledge and his practice. He's of that caliber. Imam Ahmad and Imam Tabarani raised these, brought those two hadiths. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam intervened at the time and made them all understand, go back to not the outward, but there could be something inward which you don't know. So behave in a very nice way. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's style. Some Quraysh youth came to the service of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha afterwards, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the world, to learn something, and they asked some question, and then they started laughing. And Sayyidah Aisha, when he saw them all laughing, said, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Oh, such and such person fell on the ropes of the tent. He just was trying to tie it, and then he had a foot, climbed over it, and it was close that his neck or eyes would go away. It means he was about to get something to his eyes or to his neck." Aisha radiallahu ta'ala said, "Do not laugh. I heard from Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, there's no Muslim who is bitten by a thorn or more than that, but for him a degree is written and one of his sin is forgiven." So you're mocking at someone who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already elevated to the higher level than he was before. And you are mocking at him. You're looking at him and smiling and laughing. That's not appropriate, because through that patience that he had with that fool, with that atrocity, whatever little, even a thorn prick would just have elevated him. He's gone on the next level, and you are mocking and wasting your life here. You're actually losing some of your reward. So don't do that. He's closer to Allah than he was before. He had a fall. So that fall actually caused him to come closer to Allah. Is it a matter of, or is it something to be happy about for yourself? When you're losing your sin, but when you're losing your good deed and getting some sin, so behave. That's what he was in a way hinting to. Anas radiallahu ta'ala narrated, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, many are people having a scattered hair when people laugh at. When they find this poor guy not having proper clothing on, dusty bodies, and they only had sheets to just wrap. So they are really someone to be ridiculed or mocked in the society because they haven't got enough clothing. They're disheveled. So no one would give them refuge. When you ask them, when they come and knock at your door, madfu'un bil bab, they be rejected, they be turned away. If they ask for any help, people say, go, niklo, kya hai, mat karo. So they're quite weak and low in the society, social status. But their status in the eyes of Allah is such that لو أقسم على الله لأبرّ. If they were to take oath in the name of Allah, by Allah, this is day, Allah would do that just to accept their dua. So you feel them weak and low and mock them for that. He's low in your eyes. In the eyes of Allah, he's of such a caliber. So don't ridicule and don't look down upon anyone. So some people say, I only do it for a laugh. This general chit-chat. Even that is not permissible. It is an evil deed. Mocking someone is just evil regardless. You can't just make it okay at any time. Evil deed. And if it is aimed to mock the religion, and then that's obviously that could even become worse. What about mocking for Allah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, woe to the one who tells lies to make people laugh. Woe to him. Now, what is the chance that whatever you're doing to make people laugh is a lie? You think if you don't create a lie, people would laugh? You have to exaggerate, isn't it? If you just say something simpler, people wouldn't be very happy with that. People would enjoy when you make it a little bit more spicy. And to do that, you have to add few things. So even the fact was fine, but you added embellished it with certain other things around it to make it heightened, to make it more appealing, and people laugh. And if they didn't, you even make it worse by adding things to it in the name of it's just hyperbole, it's just a way of a haram. Haram. Make sure that if it hurt the other person, even worse. Warning against this kind of behavior, which some jokers are accustomed to. A man may say something to make his companion laugh, and he will fall into the hellfire as far as further down areas. Imam Ahmad narrated this one. Some people make fun of a person's appearance, manners of walking, and his dabba, his car, his clothing, whatever. There's a fear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may requite that the one who makes fun of the others, because of what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Do not express malicious joy towards your brother's misfortune, for Allah may have mercy on him, and you may be stricken by the thing you made fun of. So you're making fun of someone's dress style, their language style, their exam results, whatever that is, it may just turn around. You may get that and he be delivered from that. His stutter, for example. People do mock, can't speak properly. If a man accuses his brother for a sin, even, so mocking someone for their sin that they have committed, and then they repented now, you still commit, they're still making comment about that in a negative way, mocking them for that. Oh, he used to do that. Oh, we saw him doing that. He said, remember the other day he was. If you mock someone for the sin they committed, and he has already repented, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he will not die until he commit the same sin. Allah made him commit that sin before he dies. That's a very big warning. Don't do that at all. Don't do that. You will end up doing that yourself, and you feel very low, worse than him, because you actually were mocking him for that, and now you're doing the same. People would attack you from left, right, and center. How come you're doing the same? And you wouldn't have any way to hide. No respite for you. But don't do that. So there are certain jokes with the condition they are permissible. It's not very dry. The religion is not dry. We do joke in a nice way. Have to be a little bit, jovial at times. But it's a break. It's a rest from your normal serious life. In between. Rather than the main thing. So you're just joking all the time, and in between you have got a little bit of seriousness. That's not the way. It's like a salt in your food. Just a little. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used some jokes as well. We come to those, and there are guidelines about it. So they should not be excessive, not all the time, as I said. Doing too much will harden your heart. Islam's general idea is serious. We are on a serious journey. You're talking about exam. You're talking about your life hereafter. You're talking about whether you're going to Jannah or Jahannam. How could you be non-serious about it? It has to be generally serious. Umar bin Abdul Aziz used to say, fear joking, for it is folly and generates grudges. Normally, jokes do not end up good. They can only be good if they're kept to bare minimum at the time when it is needed. Imam Nawawi rahmatullah alayhi said, the kind of joking which is forbidden in Islam is that which is excessive and persistent, for it leads to too much laughter and hardening of the heart. It distracts from remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It often leads to hurt feelings, generates hatred, and causes people to lose respect and dignity. But whoever is safe from such dangers, then that which the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do is permissible. It means that joke is okay, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. The amount of joking should be like the amount of salt in one's food, as I said. Do not laugh too much. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would warn us. For laughing too much cause the heart to be diseased and dead. لا تكثروا الضحك فإن كثرة الضحك تميت القلب. It causes the heart to be dead in the heart. Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to say, whoever laughs too much or jokes too much loses respect. And whoever persists in doing something will be known for it. Like, people would just know that he's like that. And they're not going to take your words at all any serious. They would not take it seriously at all. So be aware of joking, for it causes a person to lose face after he was thought of it as respectable, and it brings them humiliation after some esteem. So it's not something which should be done a lot. Some people have taken a role of being jokers in the society, in the community, in the family. They have to just always crack a joke. They expect you to do it, and you feel pressured. And if you didn't, you say, oh, come on, say something, make us laugh. And you feel pressure to do it. That deadens the heart. Don't do that. It is only as and when there is a situation. And when you're making jokes, make sure that you respect the status. Hifz maratib. Who are you making joke with? You don't use the same crazy joke that you've done with your friend, maybe, to your father, to your sheikh, to your teacher. Are you crazy? Haven't got any idea where to make those jokes? Some people are so silly about this that they would just say jokes everywhere in the same way, without having same joke to the sister, their mothers, to the friends, to the society. How could that be appropriate at all? Is that because you lose the sense of judgment? Because you're just crazy about it. You've just taken it to, I have to just do it no matter what. You should not joke with ignorant people, fools, or people whom you do not know. You do not know how they would take it. They may fire back in a bigger time, and you just regret. Umar bin Abdul Aziz, fear joking, for it undermines chivalry and manliness. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas says, set a limit to your jokes, for going to extremes make you lose respect and incites the foolish against you. And they would start saying the same back to you, and you would say, oh my goodness. Many people, they do joke with their children, and they tease them and mock them at times, actually, to the point that when they backfire, they say, you've been disrespectful now, aren't you? SubhanAllah. You are the one who opened that gate for them. But don't do that. Behave. Keep the limits, and keep in a nicer way. And likewise, the time. Someone is moaning about something. Someone is upset about the exam result. You cracking jokes. So, is that silly? Be completely insensitive to people's needs. Such as when you are talking, when you're taking a trip to the countryside, that's fine, or attending a party in the evening, or when meeting a friend, you may relax and enjoy some gentle anecdotes, some nice stories, some light jokes, in order to generate a friendship and instill happiness in the heart. When family problems are taking their toll and one of the spouses is angry, some gentle joke may relieve the tension and cheer people up. That's okay. But is it all that? No. Realize that. Sahaba, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once he mentioned, if you knew what I know, you would laugh little and weep much. Cry more. Bilal ibn Sa'ad, he said, I saw them, the Sahaba, joking, pretending to fight over some goods and laughing with one another. But when night came, they were like monks. They would cry. They would talk about something light and nice. And when it's a serious matter, you would not find them taking it non-seriously. Ibn Umar was asked, did the companions of Muhammad laugh? He said, yes. And the faith in their heart was like mountain. Means they did not laugh enough to make their heart get dead, tainted, and forgetful or negligent of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only a matter of time here and there. A man said to Sufyan ibn Uyayna, one of the pious of the early Imam, joking is not right, he said. It is to be denounced. He replied, rather it is sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but only for those who know how to do it and do it at appropriate time. That sums it all up, when and how to. So this is why Anas ibn Malik reports, a man asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give him a mount. He needed a ride. He wanted to go back. He's poor. He needs a camel. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, I will give you a she-camel's son, a baby goat. Baby, he didn't say baby. He used the word son. Son as in, a male offspring of a she-camel. The man said, what use do I have for a she-camel's son? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what camel is not born to a she-camel? And he would be son of that, means he would be son, adult one. I will give you big one. He used the word and he took it literally. He meant in a nice way, the lighter way. A Bedouin. That's amazing relationship Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had with this particular Sahabi called Zahir ibn Haram. Zahir ibn Haram. He was poor and he was from from the suburbs. So the Bedouin, he would come and bring gifts with him for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the deserted areas. When he would come to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would speak to him and give him gifts as well. So when he was about to leave one day, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he commented, Zahir is our men from desert and we are his from urban people. May we exchange our gifts. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved him. Zahir was very ugly. He did not have good facial appearance. So one day Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to him from behind when he was selling some stuff in the market. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came from behind and literally, seized him in such a way that he couldn't move, and he covered his eyes with his hands. And he kept saying, "Leave me! Who is this? Let me go! Let me go! Who are you?" He then turned his face and recognized it was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He could see him. Then he would start rubbing his body to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then starts saying, "Who is going to buy this slave?" Who is going to, in a joking way. Okay, anyone wants this slave? Just I'm going to sell him. He said, "Ya Rasulullah." As he had, he was slave. He was poor man. He wasn't a slave, but he was very poor, and he was ugly. So he felt that there's no worth. He said, "Ya Rasulullah, you wouldn't find me saleable. No one would buy me. I'm so ugly." So he had that low esteem. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's way of dealing with people was, he said, "Rather, by Allah, you are not unsaleable. You are Allah's slave. You are highly valued in the eyes of Allah." Maybe people don't buy you for your ugliness, but your state in the eyes of Allah is such, your status in the eyes of Allah is such, you'll be very highly valued there. Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comfort him for that. We have such people in our society, in our community, someone who is a bit disabled, and even for a natural defect, we mock them. We make them feel so low that they're literally completely outcasted. And then we claim to be Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam joked with an old lady. She asked, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I've been doing all those good deeds and I prayed I'll be in Jannah." No, old ladies won't go to Jannah. She was elderly people, old ladies won't be in Jannah. She started crying. Come back. You'll be young. Allah would make you into a very young, beautiful lady, and then you'll be in Jannah. So she felt that I would go to Jannah. So it was just a joke, a nice way to cheer her up. So caution. One important caution that I would mention, so many points in between, I hope. One such thing is, do not ridicule, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not ridicule one from whose belly wind with sound comes out. When people pass wind, we laugh, we mock him. That person feels so reduced in the gathering, as if he has committed a sin. Is that crazy? This is completely natural something. Yeah, they should try to stop it, but if they couldn't, so it's fine. Don't be crazy about it. It has become a way of people laughing on it. Don't do that. So sometimes we do ridicule people for their figure, for their conduct. They couldn't do their talk, they're shaking. Sometime in the classroom, sometime in the majlis, she asked someone, "Okay, go and read." And he's shaking like this. And you start mocking after. See, he couldn't even read properly. The people who mentioned to me, I was just, some brothers were sitting there, some uncles as well. So I asked, how was the gathering? It was about a brother who became Hafiz. And then they had a gathering. We got some food ready for the family and friends. So this particular person then said, "You know what? He completed a hifz and he couldn't even read Surah Ikhlas. When he was about to read Surah Ikhlas, he made mistake in Surah Ikhlas, and he's claiming to be Hafiz. And he started walking, people started laughing. I look at him and say, SubhanAllah, do you think he doesn't know Surah Ikhlas? Do you really think that he doesn't know Surah Ikhlas? And they were like a little bit serious because I was serious. They said, why do you think he couldn't do it? Then don't to everyone. Yeah, because he was on the stage. Yes, he was the main person there. He was just not used to of doing it in front of so many people. Could you do that? If I asked you to come in on the stage and start saying something, and people mock about this. They put pictures. He just said it, you know, obviously he didn't realize, but mashallah, he realized and he repented, obviously. But you do that a lot. You forward those clips of people in your social media about someone who couldn't recite properly, some imams who couldn't recite properly, some political figures couldn't recite properly, thinking that they really don't know them. Yeah, they might, it just slip their mind, maybe. Under that stress, it's very, very difficult. I can talk like this because I'm comfortable about this, because I prepared the lesson. You may just put me on the spotlight and ask me to do, I won't be able to say a word, perhaps even about my specialty, which is lung diseases. You think you, about your specialty, can stand up on the podium and then start talking about that without, subhanAllah. Everyone get nervous. There are very few people who are not, who have got like, you know, a lot of practice done and they get used to it. To mock someone like that, so ugly. We are so bad in our behavior. And that's because of arrogance. Someone has written something, you start mocking. Someone has done something, someone is slipping. It's very, very easy for people to walk. Someone had a fall, then you start laughing. What did they laugh about? What have they done wrong to mock them? Someone is snoring in the majlis, people start looking at him and they start laughing. If you couldn't keep up, you might have done a lot of hard work last night. Maybe he had a night shift. Maybe he was just waking up at the time of tahajjud and stayed up all until the class. It's amazing that he managed to come and attend the circle rather than you just, you know, making fake excuses and sleeping at home. MashaAllah, amazing. And rather than, you know, we mock. Oh, he is sleeping. He is dozing off. Inna lillah. Don't do that. And now, what do you do with the pictures? Putting fake names, creating those, is it called memes? I just found out this recently, there's a new term called meme. What is it? I just Googled it this morning. What is this? So I realized that this is something that people start doing, that just creating something in a wrong way, in a fake way. And there's much detail about that because Richard Dawkins mentioned this in a different way about the genes and things like that. But anyways, but now it has gone to the point where you just create artificial sound, words. He said a word and you made into a funny something. He slipped with his, you know, statement and you made into something to mock about. They did a lot about the politicians. It's quite common to do that for politicians. People consider that to be halal. It's haram, by the way. It's haram without, same mocking. Mocking is haram for everyone and anyone. Now, there may be a scholarly distinction and with can you mock someone who is not your, someone who is not Muslim? Can you mock non-Muslim? There's difference of opinion. They say the honor for a Muslim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given is not the same honor for non-Muslims. Those who do not acknowledge or recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be their creator and do not follow the teaching of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're not worthy of being respected in the same way as those who are, which has value, which has strength in it. But even then, those who allow, they say it's okay, means not as haram to mock a non-Muslim as it is to a Muslim. Even then they say, don't practice it. It is definitely disliked. It is definitely discouraged. Why? When you are in this habit, you would not stop there. You would continue to do that regardless. That's one reason. Second, they still have the honor of being human beings. When you're not even supposed to mock animals, men, women, even if they're non-Muslim, they have higher status, way higher status. And they are potentially Muslim, inshallah ta'ala, anyway. Who knows that they will become Muslim one day? They'll be way better than most Muslims alive today. Because they get all their sins forgiven. And now they're at the status of being, mashallah, all the good deeds they did, it's all been counted. All the bad deeds have been wiped away. And now they are there if they make dua for us, inshallah ta'ala, it will be accepted for us. So they're way higher in status. How could you mock someone, even if they're non-Muslim? So don't mock anyone. So that's the teaching. That's the standard teaching. When the scholars discuss and debate about that, that is to do with fiqh understanding, a rule rather than the practice. Practices, not at all. You can't mock anyone and shouldn't mock anyone. Is that clear? And I, doing a lot of exaggerations, just highlighting things for no reason and changing words and action. He said this and you just mocked it to make it more, attracted to the diseased mind, sick mind. So in summary, we shouldn't mock anyone at any cost. Having any superiority in your mind, in your heart, haughtiness, arrogance, that's not on. You can't do it. Yeah? You can joke without being so excessive, taking into consideration the time and the appropriateness of those words, the joke, and ensuring that doesn't hurt the person that you're joking, in a nice way, in a subtle way. And check your intention while you're doing it. To score point, to be known among the community, to be more likely a special someone who everyone look up to. So in the gathering, you become the leader, everyone looking at you. When is he going to crack the next joke? Bad idea. Sometimes it is to take revenge from the previous one. He joked about me or against me. It's my time to then outdo him. Crazy, isn't it? How low we can go. And then we think that we are very spiritually sound and good, and we are lover of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are pious, we are nice people in the society, in the community. Not at all. With that disease, and if you're in doubt, stay away. Don't do it. It's not required at all. If you never made any joke, you're still okay and very good Muslim, alhamdulillah. Perhaps you're more better than the one who's been joking. When there's time, a nice way, alhamdulillah. May Allah give us tawfiq. Any question on that? Say again. Why Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? Oh yeah, because that was this. So the question is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would normally give a simile or example of that of Mount Uhud in different style. Why? Because that's the closest one available to them, and they could see it. So whatever is there, you get easily, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the wisest of the teachers. He would use the example which Sahaba could relate. If you mention something about Mount Everest, what is that? We don't even know. So they could see the mountain there in front of them, and obviously they would see it, how big it is, how heavy it is. So if you say it, you can compare it very, very easily. If you compare with something which is also, this is the wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, okay, to make it easy for people to appreciate. Mocking generally would never be okay, because they're mocking to only outwit the other person. Even for joke, they become used to them. They both do.
The other person, like, they find the other person, not allowed. Like, if they find would be
as I mentioned, so the question is, could a group of people or two people, they mock each other, and that's their style. So what that does, it is, as I said, it is only a matter of time. Very soon you become addicted to this, and very soon it would become a point of contention. It would just start creating rifts among you. You would not limit it to those two people only. It started off like this, nicely, and gradually, it goes out of your control. Then you be in this habit of doing it to everyone and anyone. And very soon, you would realize that, now we start hating each other. And you wouldn't find the reason. So, well, why? No, it just build up. Because you can't be measuring it properly. You can't know exactly whether I'm doing the same as he is. You won't ever know that one such thing has hurt someone or not. And as I said, the pressure is such that when you do it, and the other person says, oh, actually, I'm hurt, then you mock him even more. So he knows that I can't do it. You have literally pressurized him into accepting it. And as I said, sometimes it is just a revenge. So next time, what he's doing is taking his time off to go and find out, how can I now undo him? How can I just show my wit on him? It's a vicious circle. So the more you do, the deaden your heart gets even more. So you're spending and wasting your time. Not at all. So stay away from it, as I said, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.